Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Zara and today I'm going to be doing part one of a two-part video series that I'm going to be doing on self-published books and series that I really want to read. There's so many. It's ridiculous. I think there's probably about 10 or 15 that I'm going to go through today, and then in part two there's going to be another 10 or 15. It's ridiculous, and I'm sure there'll be a part three at some point in the future. So without further ado, let's jump in. Before I actually properly jump in, I'm not going to give any major summaries or anything like that. I'm just going to talk about what I know of the books. I don't actually like reading plot summaries anymore or blurbs or anything because I find they often actually put me off and they often reveal things that you don't want to know. So yeah, I'm just gonna go with what I know, and if I don't know anything I'll just say that I don't, and that you should go check them out. Let's start part one. So the first series is the Hybrid Helix series, with the first book being Wistful Ascending by JCM Byrne. Shout out to Joe. We follow each other on Twitter and he's great. He's dying for me to review his book in the style that I have reviewed the Fourth Wing and Iron Flame books. He wants me to do a round review. I said to him, I was like, look, I can't promise that that's going to happen, because if I like your book then I'm not going to rant about it. Yeah, I'm really curious about the series because it's like superhero fantasy, which is just a subgenre of fantasy I have never read. Like, I've read comics, obviously. I've read Watchmen, I love that. I've read a few of the Superman comics, enjoyed those. I've read some of the really dark Batman comics, absolutely love those. But I've never read that in a novel. So I'm really curious whether I'm going to like it, like whether I'm going to like the concept of following a superhero rather than like a wizard, as an example. So yeah, I really love the cover of the book. Like, it's so colourful and it looks great on my shelves. I just have no idea what to expect because I've just never read a superhero novel. Like, it's just not happened yet. So I'm very curious, very curious. Next up, we have the Songs of Chaos series, with the first book being Ascendant by Michael R. Miller. The covers of these books are just absolutely stunning. I believe 4 books are out now. I think the 5th book is coming out this year. And from what I understand, or the way that it's been described to me before, is that it's kind of like Aragon, but like way better. I mean, obviously dragons are a big part of the series from what I understand. I think it's quite a classic kind of hero's journey, which again is something that I don't typically read, but when it's done well, I like it, and I've heard that it is done well in this series. I think there's like empires warring, there's politics, there's, you know, adventure. And honestly, I don't read a lot of epic fantasy, but I would like to read more epic fantasy because I think it can be very comforting. And I have a feeling that, based on what I've heard about this series and Miller's writing, that I think I'm going to really enjoy it. And I'm just so psyched. I can't wait. I really can't wait. I really want to try and start it next year, but I'm probably going to wait for him to finish the series so that I can just binge it at some point. Next up, we have Sons of Darkness by Gaurav Mohanty. I have no idea if this is going to be a series. I think it is. Gaurav, if you're watching this video, please do clarify down below, but I actually have no idea. I don't know if it's been announced whether there's going to be a second book, and maybe Gaurav's not actually ready to announce it yet, so only tell us if you're allowed to tell us, Gaurav. I actually started reading this book last year and I loved what I read, but then I started traveling, and the thing about me, when I travel, I don't read as much because I was also going through some stuff at the time, and like it just wasn't the right time for me to be reading anything, never mind like a grimdark fantasy book. What I remember of it, I loved the writing and I was really intrigued by the characters. This is a reimagining of the Mahabharata. I definitely said that wrong, but it is a reimagining of that, and so there's lots of kind of like epicness to it. There's a lot of war, there's kind of lovable but also very hateable characters. I think there's a lot of morally grey individuals in this book. Like, I know I'm going to love it. Like, this is the thing. This is one of those books that, given that I've also read part of it, like I know I'm going to absolutely devour it when I read it, and I cannot wait. Like, I love the cover of the books as well. I'm super psyched to get to it again. Cannot wait. The next one is the Ash and Sand trilogy, with the first book being The Kings of Paradise by Richard Nell. I've talked about this in another video, and yeah, this is a trilogy. It's a series that is very grimdark. I think it's very military war focused, which I love in my fantasy. It's multi-POV, it's a very multi-layered story. Cannot wait. Next up, we have the Dragon Spirit series, with the first book being The Iron Crown by L.L. McRae. I've had the first book for years. Like, I think literally when the first book came out, I bought it because I love the sound of it. I just never got to it. I don't know why I never got to it, but I'm always trying to read more self-pub. And from what I've heard about this book, like, I think it's very character driven, but I also think the plot work is done really well. I've heard the writing is really beautiful and that the author has really evolved as a writer as well, which is something that I love to hear. This is just another case of, like, I've owned this book for ages. There's no excuse for me not having read it, and I cannot wait to read it when I get to it. Next up, this is also a similar case, and this is the Silent God series, with the first book being Master of Sorrows by Justin T. Cole. I bought this book because I think I saw Justin talking about it on Twitter at some point, and I was so intrigued by it. Then I saw the cover of it, and I was like, damn, that's a beautiful cover, and then I just bought it. Similar to the previous book, I've had it on my shelves for years. I just haven't picked it up, and that is entirely my fault. So I'm really curious about this one. I think the second book is not out yet. I think this is going to be a trilogy. Justin, if you are watching this video, please clarify down below if you can. But I do believe this is going to be a series, so excited for that. Then we have a series that I'm psyched to get to, and that is the Drowned Kingdom series, with the first book being A Drowned Kingdom by P.L. Stewart. P.L. is amazing. And he's just one of those, like, really lovely people that just supports everyone. And yeah, he's just, like, such a lovely person. And I've also heard amazing things about his series. I have the first book. It's going to be 5 books, I believe. I think 3 books are out. I could be way off, but I think 3 books are out. It's like an African-inspired fantasy series. And that's all I need to know for me to be interested in it, because that just sounds epic and I cannot wait. I've also heard his writing is absolutely fantastic, so I'm really excited to pick that one up. Then we have the Ancient Rite series, with the first book being The Oracle of the Sun by L.A. Robinson. I know nothing about the plot. All I know is that it is ancient Egypt inspired, and that's all I need to know. You know, I've not read any, maybe apart from Daevabad, which is slightly kind of North African inspired. This is straight up ancient Egypt inspired though, so I'm psyched. Yeah. Do you need to know anything else? I think this is also going to be a trilogy, so it's exciting to see where the author goes with the series. Then we have the Sundered Nation series, with the first book being The Suffering Sun by Vaughan Roycroft, who's also lovely. A lot of the authors that I've mentioned on this list I have spoken to in some capacity online. That doesn't determine whether I'm going to read a book though. Like, if I've never spoken to a self-published author, it doesn't mean I'm not going to not read their book. It just means obviously that these are people that I've spoken to, so I'm aware of what they're doing, and we follow each other on Twitter and stuff like that. So this one, I came across it when it first came out, I think either earlier this year or it might have been last year. I think it was this year. And I remember seeing the cover and I just thought it was absolutely stunning. And I really liked the vibe that I got from the cover. Again, I think there's quite a big, like, war aspect to this series, which again is something that I love. This is like proper epic fantasy at its core, which again is not something that I read tons of, but I really want to. I'm really excited to read it. From what I understand thematically, I think there's a lot of stuff around, like, destiny and, like, free will, which, let's be honest, stuff that I love, stuff that I eat up. So can't wait. I'm going to try and get to this one next year as well. Next up, we have Sister Samurai by Tatiana Obey. This is a African-inspired samurai story. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I've not read the blurb of this book because for the reasons that I gave earlier, but the cover is stunning, and I saw loads of people talking about it on Twitter, which normally I don't listen to hype. I've said this before, and I'm normally very anti-hype, but when I saw some of, like, the tropes listed, I was like, oh, that could actually be pretty cool. It's also a novella, so it's quite short. You can get through it pretty quickly. I'm going to try and get to this one next year as well. Then we have the Gunmetal God series. The first book is Gunmetal Gods by Zamil Akhtar. This is a series I've been wanting to get to for years. I've owned the whole series now, I think, ever since the last book came out, obviously. Look, cyberpunk fantasy, not really something I would say I'm like, yes, that's going to be my thing, but I did read a sample of Zamil's writing for the first book, and I really liked it, and I just think it's a vibe that I'm gonna really love. Can't wait. I'm gonna love it. I know I am. Next up, we have the Riven World series, with the first book being The Dragon Mage by M.L. Spencer. I've owned the first book for years, like ever since it came out, and I haven't touched it. And the only reason why I haven't touched it is because it's such a chunky book. It's so chunky, like, and it's like a big book as well, like the hardback, the really beautiful hardback with the amazing drawing on the front of the dragon. Stunning cover, but my gosh, is it a long book, and yeah, I have to like really be in a mood of commitment to read that length of a book. But look, it's got a dragon in it, it's got a mage in it. What more could you want? It's just, you know, it's perfect. Next up, we have a Grimdark series, and that is the Tracing Graves trilogy, with the first book being Tracing Graves by Ben Galley. I've been wanting to read a lot of Ben Galley stuff, and yeah, I've got the entire trilogy. I'm really excited to get to it. This is a series that Slowly Read really loves, and Slowly Read is like one of maybe 2 or 3 booktubers that I actually trust, and I want him to come back online. Please come back. Please come back. But he raves about this trilogy, and yeah, again, that's enough to sell me. And Ben Galley also seems like a really cool guy, so let's give it a go. And then last but most certainly not least, we have the Riftwalker series, with the first book being The Flames of Mira by Clay Harmon. And this is a series that I have been recommended by quite a few people, and I'm just really intrigued by the premise of it. I think it's quite dark. I just think it's going to be a series that I'm going to really enjoy. I've heard the magic system is quite unique in this one. I don't know what it is, but I've just heard it's quite different to what we get typically in fantasy. So definitely very excited for that. I think it's going to be a trilogy. I think the second book is going to come out this coming year, 2024. I could be wrong, but I think it is. So yeah, I'm going to stop there. So those are just part 1. Again, there's no priority to this list, but this is part 1 of the list. There is a part 2, which will come out at some point. There's so many that I want to read. It's absolutely ridiculous, and I have no idea how I'm going to get to all of them. Like, I honestly feel quite overwhelmed sometimes. Sometimes I do wonder what it would be like to be a full-time booktuber. Like, the amount of books that I could get through would just be insane. I don't know if I'd want to do that though, but anyway, that's a conversation for another day. Let me know down below if there's any self-published series that you want to read and that you're going to be prioritizing. Please do bear in mind that there is a part 2 of this video that is going to be coming out, and I'm sure there'll be a part 3 at some point in the future too. Self-published authors, keep doing what you do, keep rocking, keep writing. We love what you do, we respect what you do, and I'm excited to read more of your works in the next couple of years. That's it for the video. Please give this video a thumbs up. Let's get more attention on these authors, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching, folks. Stay safe, take care, and I will see you soon. Bye.